Hi, guys. How's it going? Woo, so bright. How's it going? I figured I should start by saying that I heard about Liberty University back when I was like in middle school, high school, and it was because I'm a little country bumpkin from upstate New York. There's more cows than people in my county, if that gives you an idea. And so I loved Duck Dynasty, and I heard that the students were from Duck Dynasty, and I just thought that it was this magical make-believe place where the really cool people got to go. And then it took me going to college and getting out of my little country bumpkin world to find out, oh, it's a college that anybody can go to, and I could have gone. It was a big disappointment to myself. But speaking of being a little country bumpkin, I went to American University in Washington, D.C. Has anybody ever heard of that place? Good things or bad things? Yeah, so I thought, okay, I'm going to our nation's capital, right? American University. It must be a wonderful place. No, it's 90% liberal, and it's the #1 most politically active campus in the country. So Little Miss Country Bumpkin, my dad's a colonel. He served at 9/11, served in Operation Iraqi Freedom. I think I'm going down to our nation's capital, and I'm going to like Parks and Rec it. That didn't happen. That really didn't happen. Instead, I had a ton of those crazy stories. I could tell you a million of them. But the one story that stuck with me and really solidified what I do now, I run a nonprofit called Young Americans Against Socialism, so we're pretty literal with our values. Thank you, thank you. So it all started because I didn't get to go to Liberty University. I'm a little, mad about it still, if you can't tell. But I went to American, and I moved into a house off campus during my last year. I graduated a year early, and it was into a house with some girls. I knew some of them, but I didn't know some of the others. And so I'm in the basement. Maybe there's some irony there, but I'm in the basement meeting the girl who was moving in there, and I'm looking on her wall because I'm trying to talk to her and respect her with the eye contact, but I'm getting distracted. And I'm looking, but I'm distracted. And I realize I'm getting distracted because I recognize some of the people on a poster on her wall. It was Mao Zedong, Lenin, Stalin, Karl Marx, and Fidel Castro. These mass murderers and dictators had party hats on, party hats, and they're holding these fruity cocktail drinks with umbrellas in them, and it said, "Welcome to the party." And so again, you would think Morgan Zegers, Little Miss Americana, father's a colonel, served at 9/11. I would know what I would say if I met a communist. And I did not. And it was a very big moment for me because I was very disappointed in myself. And so that's why I started my nonprofit, because I realize a lot of us, as we look at these numbers, 70% of our generation would currently vote for a socialist if given the chance. 58% would choose socialism over capitalism. Ooh. A lot of us are going to be put in that situation where we are meeting someone like my commie roommate with mass murderers and dictators on her wall. But what was she telling me, you guys? She said that her ideas, the ideas of these men, if tried in America, would work this time because it would be democratic. She said that we would uplift the working class of America, we would end poverty, and we would end suffering. And I was like, wow, I don't know what to say because I was more ostracized for being a basic conservative and Christian than she was for being a commie with mass murderers and dictators on her wall. So it was really confusing for me. But that's why I started my nonprofit, to try and equip young people with just the basic information that they weren't getting in the public school system. What we started doing, though, is we decided a really effective way might be to actually interview people that lived through that heard the same promises of my roommate. And so we began a series of testimonies, and that's what we still do today. We're now almost 3 years into it. But I thought it was so interesting. I was interviewing a woman recently. 2 weeks ago, we interviewed a woman from Romania, and she was telling me her story of she came to Christianity. Obviously, religion isn't allowed under communism. And so she joined an underground hub of Christians that were meeting. And they were obviously getting persecuted by the state. And so she started using her law skills to defend them in court. Uh-oh. That's not allowed, okay? So let me preface this with, when you try and become a lawyer or gain political power in a communist regime, in these countries, what they will do is they'll say, do you have any parents that are politically active in the opposition? Have you been a good, comrade, all this stuff? And then, do you have any Christians in your family? If you have a Christian in your family, you're never going to get a position of power in a communist regime. And so at the time, she didn't, but she became a Christian. So an assassin was sent by the leaders of the communist regime in Romania to kill her in her law office because she was protecting Christians. And I can't believe this because, let me digress a little bit. Sometimes I'll be like sitting on a plane, coming to a campus speech, or after this, kids will come up to me and be like, Morgan, I love your Instagram, but I just get so nervous to share a post onto my Instagram story because then I lose like 20 followers. And I'm like, why would you want them to be your friend anyway if they're going to unfollow you over an Instagram story? Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm like, do we really want these people to be our friends? Look at all the potential friends that we have in this room. Instead, let's rethink community, right? Right? Sometimes it's simple. But at the same time, like, all it is sharing an Instagram post and speaking out about our values. Maybe the problem is that we've been so shy and timid and non-courageous that we've gotten into a position now where we're in a place where we can't even share an Instagram post without being ostracized from the public square and from society. So maybe that's why it's this dangerous complacency. So I have these people telling me they're too scared to share an Instagram story, but then this woman from Romania is telling me her story. And she says the assassin shows up in her law office, points a pistol at her face, she's behind her desk, and what does she do? She starts reading the gospel from memory. What? And I'm like, whoa. I was like, you know enough? And she was like, honey, I ran out of words eventually. I'm not that smart. And she says, so then I run out of words and I pause. And for a moment in his eyes, you could tell. And he's screaming at her, I'm going to shoot you and kill you on behalf of the communist regime. I'm a good comrade. Like, he's got some problems, right? Very, you know. So that's what he's saying. She's saying the gospel. She eventually runs out of words. I don't blame her. I would too. And then she says, for a moment, you could see it in his eyes. He might have changed his mind. But then he goes back to screaming at me. And so what did I do? I have the Bible on my desk. So I rip it out and I start reading whatever random page I open to. And the guy leaves. The guy leaves. She never sees him again. She eventually makes it to America because she's amazing. And I'm interviewing her, right? And she tells me, and then I wrote a book about it. And this man tracked me down, my would-be assassin. He tracked me down to my law office in Texas. He came into my law office one day and he said, do you remember me? You brought me to Jesus Christ. What? Yeah. It was really special. And then he wrote a chapter in her book explaining what she did to him and how she changed his heart from being a communist. And so I'm happy to share that if you ever want to send out the link to buy that book because it's wonderful. But you guys, I want to leave you with this. We can complain and we can talk about how communism has been horrible throughout history, right? We all know that. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind here. I hope I don't have to. So I think we're in a crowd more of solutions. We need solutions. I like to be solutions-oriented. I'm a conservative. I'm an efficient person, okay? When we talk about, like, what is the most effective way? Communication. I love that you brought that up, Brian. There's a study from Michigan State University, and it says the most effective way to change a young person's heart, a young person's mind, or to bring up a hard, opposing viewpoint that maybe they don't see, or, here's the thing, to help them understand a difficult topic that is important to them and the people around them and their future. It's actually hearing it via peer. It's called peer rationale, peer-to-peer communication. Now, I could go on a rant about this, but I hate social media. I have social media, I know, I use it, but my goal in everything I post is that of the women and the young men that follow me, I hope they get inspired to be better. Right now, we have an unenlightened public. And when we look back to the Federalist and the Anti-Federalist debates, our founders basically said the only way this Constitution can work is if we have an enlightened public that rationally and enduringly consents to the principles of this document. Do we have an enlightened public, people? Absolutely not. I mean, I see what they post on social media. We see TikTok. I'm sorry if there's young people in the room, but I see what happens with those viral videos of the guys clapping outside of the frat houses as the women leave the next morning. It disgusts me. And I hope every person in this room understands that when it comes to reaching those peers of ours that are lost, that are falling for it, whether it's the politics of it or the culture that is declining in our country, we are the most effective communicators to open their eyes to a better way of life. Everybody always wants to know what the heck is next. What do we do? Solutions-oriented. I think, first of all, if you want to bring change, you need to better yourself. We are a country of morally, spiritually, physically, we got some problems there, And mentally weak people. I'm sorry if that's rough, but it's true. And the best thing we can do is better ourselves and then inspire the people around us via pure rationale to better themselves as well, and to want more for themselves, to want more for their families and the people around them. Because when we have strong individuals, better individuals, we will have stronger families, and I love families. I don't even have a boyfriend, but I'm like, I can't wait to have kids and homeschool my babies. I don't have a boyfriend. Working on it. But strong individuals lead to strong families, leads to strong communities, not government-organized community crap, right? I mean real community work and gathering, not community organizing, Saul Alinsky stuff, AOC, Barack Obama stuff, I mean real get down on the level of community and being there for each other. When you have strong communities, our country will be strong too, and we'll be able to fix it. So thank you guys for inviting me, and I just really appreciate it. Thanks.